Are you aware that? Hello, welcome to Monday Morning Matters live broadcast show brought to you by Magnicraft Consulting team, anchored by Niyi Dunmade, a certified church consultant with the Society for Church Consulting in the U.S. Here, each Monday of every week, we address important, relevant, and actionable topics of interest that will help you and your church grow healthier. And now, meet your host, Niyi Dunmade.
Welcome everyone to this live Facebook broadcast on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you for hooking up with us. My name is Niyi Dunmade. I'm the founder and the CEO of Magnicraft Consulting. Magnicraft Consulting is a church consulting firm that helps churches grow healthier through empirical assessment, trainings, and strategic blueprints. I'm also a certified church consultant with the Society for Church Consulting in the US. And of course, I want to say a big thank you to all those people who are making comments on our Facebook, on our YouTube channel, Twitter account, Instagram, making comments and reaching out to say thank you, how timely our live broadcasts are, commenting. I'm learning a lot from you. I'm learning also from all your comments. Thank you so much. Give this video a like, give this video a share, and that will help this video to reach out to more people that needs it. Okay, one of the things we're going to focus squarely this month is low commitment turnaround. How can you turn around a low commitment church? How can you get more commitment into the vision and the mission of the church? How can you make sure that the ministry workload that you have that is ever increasing can be powered by a commensurate manpower to run and to deliver the mandate that the church has? One of the things I would say quickly that the COVID-19 has taught churches a lot of lessons, and there are a lot of lessons to learn from COVID-19, which is not in the scope of what I want to discuss today. I want to look at the low commitment turnaround and the fatal trap to avoid those things you should not be ignorant of. And when you see that you are getting low commitment in terms of skills, capacity, availability, and competencies in your church. One of the things I would say is that I'm here to see a church who is getting so much of benefit from the blessings, the human resource blessings that God has marked for that church. And so a journey of 1,000 miles towards church health does not just start with a step. It does not start by taking a step. It starts by taking a step in the right direction. You know, it's not just to take a step and then go somewhere else. You should take a step in the right direction. And so 3 things I'll say quickly before we go into the introduction of this low commitment church turnaround. 1, churches cannot improve what they don't know. You have to know what you have, what is in your system to be able to improve that. You cannot improve what you do not know. 2, churches cannot examine what they don't see or recognize. Something you don't know that it exists, something you don't know that something you don't recognize or see, you cannot examine that thing. And that's why you need an outside eyes, you need an expert from outside, you need a church consultant to come and let you know what you need to put your eyes on, put your focus on, and begin to examine and begin to assess so that I can be able to improve. Then 3, churches cannot change what they choose to ignore. So if you choose to ignore issues, if you choose to ignore problems, there's no how you can change that. And so you need to make sure that you are able to be aware of what's going on in your church. Are you getting more involvement of your volunteers, or you are getting less of it? Or are you getting more of the people who are joining your church serving in one way or the other in the church? Your church needs a manpower capacity in terms of numbers. Okay, there's a number of people that should be able to come on the table, on a service table, to power your systems. Okay, so you need manpower capacity in terms of numbers, skills, competencies, and availability. People have to be available when you need them to power those systems. There's a place for people in systems when your church needs to run those functions it needs to run. Now, one of the things that brings about low commitment from volunteers is that you have a backdoor problem, you have a small group problem. And how do you know that you have a backdoor problem? Number one, are there large numbers of transferred out who keep residency in your community, who keep same residency in your vicinity, in your Jerusalem? Okay, and once you have that, that means that your church may be having a low commitment kind of pool on people. Okay, number two, are there large numbers of members with no role, no job function, no tax, no small group involvement? Okay, once you have that, that means that your commitment level is very low. You have a backdoor problem. Are there large numbers of members with no roles and tasks in your church? No role and tax in your church. Thank you. I think I'm having sound now. Good. Thank you so much. Now, number three, is there a large gap between church members and average worship attendance? Okay, you know what I'm trying to say, that the people who are your members, about 7,000, 8,000, but the average worship attendance in your church is low. It's low. It's very low. Maybe 200, but you have thousands in your membership database. Number four, is there a large gap between self-fellowship or small group involvement and Sunday attendance? So you can imagine your church is 1,000, but you have 70 or 120 in your small group involvement. That means that your church has a backdoor problem, and that's going to show from low commitment index in your church. Number five, is there a high percentage of members whose worship attendance is one Sunday per month or less? Now, the era of cultural Christianity is gone, and so the frequency of attendance, which we have been discussing in this live, we have been frequently our live broadcasts, you see that the frequency of attendance is reducing, and that's one of the major reasons why there's a major decline in our churches. And so, when there's a gap between, there's a high percentage of members who worship in your church lesser than just one or two Sundays in a month. Okay, how many of your members have felt left out, okay, in the things that's going on in your church? In the Act of Apostles 6, we could see that some people were left out in certain things. You need to know which widows are left out in the ministration or in the daily ministration in your church. How many members are left out? And number seven, are there large numbers of first-timer guests who don't come back to church? And so it's a pointer that there is low commitment in your church. And are there large members of new members who do not have friends or relatives in your church? Because when you have, the higher the number of friends you have, the lower the dropout rate will be, and the higher the commitment will be, because you have friends in your church, you have something at stake in your church. But then when you have low friends in your church, then the higher the dropout rate will, and the low the commitment phase will be in your church. So Paul explained to us that we must engage every part of the body. Okay, don't say you don't need the hand, you don't need the legs, you don't need the kidney. Every part of the body is important. Paul explained that to us, that we must engage every part. You see, one of the things I'll say here is that if you know and you want your church to be healthy, every part must supply what they need to supply. Okay, you need to engage every part of the body of the church in order for it to be healthy. That's 1 Corinthians chapter 12. Every part is important. And Paul also made it clear in Ephesians. He stated that it is the responsibility of pastors, teachers, and leaders to equip the people to do the work and build the church. So the percentage of volunteers in your church serving reveals how you are fulfilling these responsibilities. Churches should never run with this barrack mentality, soldier come, soldier go, and that kind of thing. Church is not a barrack. Church is not where you don't value people. The big problem of low commitment is because there's low retention in your church and you have backdoor problems. You have backdoor problems. And when you have backdoor problems, you're going to make sure that you do not have ministry done effectively. Ministry done, because ministry workload versus manpower and volunteer is what we can use to know whether you are making a headway in actualizing the Great Commission and impacting your community the better for you or church. And so, what are we saying? Low commitment church turnaround. One, the problem starts. I'm going to start with the traps. Now, one, the problem of comparison, okay, and copying from other churches, imitating from other churches. You see, one of the things your church is unique, and whatever strategy you have must have some contingency touch to what you are doing. Your context is different. Your context is unique. Your context is peculiar. And so when you begin to copy things from other churches, when you begin to copy templates, processes, standard operating procedures from other churches and begin to compare what they do to what you should do, then you're going to have a low morale, low commitment in your church. Low commitment in your church. And once you have low commitment in your church, of course, obviously, you will not be able to do a lot of ministry work. The ministry workload of your church is going to suffer, because as your church is growing, there's so much to be done. The harvest is plenteous, but the laborers are few. So, two, the failure to establish and set clear-cut, concise expectation. Okay, what in your church do you have the next steps? What is our next steps? The fact that somebody is a member of the church for 8 years, there must be a next step for that person. Okay, that's why I usually tell in my training that assimilation is an ongoing process. It never ends. The moment you are not making that process to be ongoing, then you're going to have less of the commitment from people. So let's ensure that we set clear expectation. We make sure that there's efficient next steps for everyone who is becoming a member of your church. Okay, 3, discipleship from the pulpit is becoming very, very problematic and negative. It has a negative impact in today's reason. And the reason is because of the infrequency of attendance. Most of our pastors usually like to teach in series or do things in series. Okay, and you can imagine when there's infrequency of attendance, what happens is that you cannot build up or accumulate a knowledge that will bring about a result. And that's the trap of low commitment, low involvement that you need to be aware of. You need to be aware of it. Okay, be aware of it. And so I can be able to deal with it. All right. Another thing about low commitment is when you're going to get low commitment from your volunteers when you are not majoring on the major, and the major is that you are able to define who a disciple is. You are going to define the process of making a disciple and the process of maturing a disciple. Every church needs to be crystal clear about these 3 things: defining who a true mature disciple is, and then defining how you're going to make disciples, and then how deciding the process of maturing disciples. Now, most of the time, churches usually get to deal with low commitment church at some point of the time. You know that's like seasons are in rainy season and dry season. You also need to make sure that you are able to get the people on board on time to be able to deliver on the ministry mandate that your church has. I want to stop here so that I'll be going to continue next Monday. Apologies for coming late. A lot of glitch here. Technology sometimes can take a course of its own, but I'm happy that I'm able to bring some introductory content into some of the things that some of the things I'm sharing now. Thank you for those who are following us. Thank you for all the comments I've seen so far. I'm going to continue next week, Monday. Feel free to share this content to a pastor like us on Facebook, on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to your YouTube channel so that when we upload a new video, you will be notified. We are trying to look at how you're going to create the needed manpower or volunteer to be able to power your ministry workload. All right. So please make sure you give us a call. We help churches grow healthier. We help churches through revitalization, consulting, trainings, and strategic blueprints. You have any question, any church-related question, reach out to us. I'll be glad to answer your question. Chat me up on the Insta messaging, and I'll be glad to respond to you. Till I come away next week, Monday, with the continuation of low committed church turnaround, I say bye-bye and God bless you.